Social media is killing this generation. If I had my vote, we would cancel all social media, get rid of all of it. All right, folks, let's get into the nitty gritty, man. We got another article review. One of the readers asked for this. So let's get into it. I just read this article, man. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. It is what it is. All right. Navy SEAL training course is rife with overzealous and unchecked instructors, spotty medical care, and students who were so determined to pass that they would either lie to doctors or turn to doping, according to a newly released and highly critical Navy report. Let me tell y'all something. Don't try to go into SEAL teams and do no reports. You ain't going to get nothing. So there's some funny facts in here that just led me to believe that the SEAL teams are still the SEAL teams. I don't care if you send everybody and their mom in there and investigate it, you ain't gonna find nothing. Just how it is. Okay. The report commissioned in the wake of the death of Seaman Kyle Mullen, an inspiring SEAL who died in 2022 just after completing the course's notorious Hell Week, details a near perfect storm of issues that included a degree of complacency and insufficient attentiveness to a wide range of important inputs meant to keep students safe. I've been saying that. That whole medical check situation at the end of Hell Week was absolutely insane to me. Having been through Hell Week and having been in that room and have them wake you up every hour with a medical check for the first 24 hours, like, it's just amazing to me that they just let the dude go back to his room and go to sleep. That didn't happen. I said that the last article review. That's insane to me. Okay. Kyle Mullins, I don't think he helped himself, but his medical attention was just atrocious. The Navy ordered the investigation into how the training course known as Basic Underwater Demolition School SEAL course or BUDS came in the wake of moments after Mullen comments by Mullen's mom and New York Times reporting. We did that article. Whole lot of garbage in there that exposed some of the problems in detail. It didn't expose a whole lot of problems in detail. Okay, there's a lot of other stuff going on, like PEDs that we talked about. We're going to see it in this article. They come back and talk about it. There's a funny fact in here about it. It just is what it is. Okay. Spokesman for Naval Special Warfare Command told military.com that the investigation is being reviewed. However, it's too early to comment on any potential accountability actions at this time. They've already taken some action. Beef got relieved a little early. They all got non-punitive letters. Basically, they're good. Okay. Whether they cite the medical guy or not, that has yet to be determined, but I'm sure that's coming. The report itself points to the need for some Navy accountability for the problems in SEAL training, and it notes that the Naval Special Warfare Command intended to take action, though that selection of the document is redacted. Absolutely. They done redacted it. Told you. Don't go into SEAL teams trying to do no investigation. Ain't gonna find nothing. Okay. Statement from the Navy released alongside the report said that the Naval Special Warfare Command has already implemented many improvements to its training programs and policies, and specifically cited greater instructor oversight and training, as well as more thorough medical screening for cardiac conditions. Okay. So let's just talk about this real quick. We've been in war for 20 years. Green Berets went through this same thing after Vietnam. The instructors come back. They have a different sense of importance for screening candidates because they've all been to war and they know how somebody that doesn't do a good job is going to get people killed. So as the gatekeepers to the community, they ratcheted it up some. Some of the ratcheting they did, they had rucks on all the time. Okay, they had a lot of overuse injuries, stress fractures to femoral head, stress fractures to femurs. Okay, places they didn't normally see stress fractures because they were carrying around a ruck all the time. That's one of the things that they've kind of pulled back on the rucking. They weren't getting any sleep, so they had them doing extracurricular activities all night. They're getting 2 hours of sleep. Then they working out for 16 hours. So they kind of pulled back on that and starting to let them get a little bit more sleep. I know when I was in BUDS, I went to bed at 7 o'clock every night. I got up at 3. So roughly I got about 7 hours of sleep. That's all I did was sleep or work out with BUDS. They took that sleep away, so people were getting banged up. Okay. In 2021, before Mullins and his fellow recruits, Class 2352, began their training, leaders at Naval Special Warfare Command and the schoolhouse running BUDS were already dealing with one problem on their hands. Candidates were dropping out at a far greater rate than normal. All right? It don't take no rocket science to figure out that COVID messed with a lot of young people's psyche. Okay? I don't know why I killed COVID, but pools were closed. People weren't swimming in lakes. Okay, people were showing up to buds. They weren't making it. All right. You asked me what the problem was? COVID. Okay. Secondary to COVID, social media. So social media has a bunch of kids believing that anybody can make it with no background. Average Joe can make it through SEAL training. That just ain't the case, man. Okay. During COVID, I know there was a lot of people that couldn't pass the entrance test. Okay. It'd be interesting to kind of see what the numbers were pre-COVID, post-COVID, and then during COVID for, just how many people did they have actually qualified to go that met the minimum standards. We know the minimum standards ain't going to get you through training, but it'll be interesting to kind of see. I'm blaming COVID. Secondary, I'm blaming social media. While normally 1 in 3 candidates would drop during the first and toughest part of the training pipeline between 2021 and 22, that figure spiked to almost 1 in 2. Okay, 1 in 2. I mean, that is what it is. That's COVID. Rear Admiral Howard, at the time, commander of Naval Special Warfare Command, told the leaders and instructors at Basic Training Command, or BTC, that the units that run BUZZ, it was important not to relax the standards to solve this issue. There's something I've been saying. I ain't going to change the standards because the standards are already at the bare minimum to send people to the SEAL teams and not get people killed. Okay, I didn't understand that. I got to the SEAL teams and it was blatantly obvious that BUDS was kindergarten, and if you let people relax the standards to get more people through, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get to the teams, you're going to have more people dying in the teams because the training in the teams don't have no safety officers. There ain't no lifeguards out there in the middle of the night in the ocean. It just ain't. Okay. The second thing to that is, we're trying to get the females through the training. They ain't going to change the standards. So if she can't make it through the standards, she ain't going to make it to SEAL teams because all that's going to happen, she's going to get to SEAL teams and die. Okay. 0 is an okay number on the berm. Hold the standard, Howard is quoting as saying in the report. Let's be honest. Come on, man. Everybody says something that you can quote in a different way that's going to make them look bad given a different situation. Everything is in the spin. Okay. 0 is an okay number on the berm. I will say this. That year that they had a couple classes with single digits and the 13, you could say, hey, was something else going on? All right. Always look at yourself first and then look at the program second. I'm going to come back to COVID. However, the investigators noted that some may have misunderstood his intent. What followed instead was a change among instructors to a mindset focused on weeding out the candidates and hunting of the back of the pack. I was the king of the back of the pack. Okay. Matter of fact, I wasn't even the king of the back of the pack. I never was in the pack. Okay. I was in the back, well behind the pack, in the goon squad, getting my head ripped off every day of training. But every day of training, I kept going. Okay. If you can be forced out of training because you in the back of the pack and they hunting you, then you shouldn't be there. Okay. Focused on weeding candidates out. Okay. Trust me on this one. They tried to get me every which way to Sunday, but I didn't go nowhere. I was good. Okay. So that's part of the program. They're going to hunt the weak people. So if you guys think that there's something odd about their focusing on weeding out candidates and hunting the back of the pack, that's how the whole community is. Okay. The report found that many of the instructors who had no formal training for the role felt the quality of SEAL candidates making through the pipeline had declined, and it was their job to uphold what they viewed as the standard. You send some cats to combat for 5, 6, 7 deployments, and then you send them back to BUDS. Well, normally they're going to go back to BUDS with 2 or 3 deployments, and they got combat. All of a sudden, the standard has changed for them. Yes, the standard has been raised because you are now going to combat. Right? So understand it. This is just one of the natures of the beast. Captain Brad Geary, officer in charge of BTC at the time, thought the increased drop rate had a few causes, but he likely chalked it up to the fact that the current generation had less mental toughness, the report said. I'm not arguing. I agree with Mr. Geary, okay? These cats don't play outside. They're not tough. They don't play sports, okay? They just don't. Trust me, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the kids coming to me talking about I'm average. I'm gonna make it, okay? They're not even getting the buzz. So I think that's part of it. I think the whole, 18 months of COVID put a crunch on people. I mean, hell, you had kids not graduating from high school all of a sudden because they couldn't go to class. Okay. Social media is killing this generation. If I had my vote, we would cancel all social media, get rid of all of it. Just canceling all this YouTube. No, YouTube is not bad, okay? But Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, man, just get rid of all of it. We're making a bunch of dumbass kids in this generation, okay? I just read an article the other day, teacher saying that our kids graduating from high school right now are operating on the 8th grade level as far as being functional human beings. That's a problem. Meanwhile, the cadre of civilian instructors at the school, veteran SEALs put in place to be a check on the active duty instructors, were sidelined after Geary made a deliberate decision to reduce their role in training. I mean, hey, man, when them budget cuts come in, all of a sudden they got to cut jobs somewhere. That's normally the jobs they're going to cut, them outside contractors. So that's just part of the facts. If someone want to raise grief about that, probably should have gave them some more dollars to keep them in place. As a result, the investigators found that BTC ignored the civilian instructor's warning about an incredibly tough curriculum and a lack of perspective on the intent of the evolutions. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. You got a bunch of 26-year-olds running training. They need some grown-up supervision in charge of. Compounding the problem was the medical team that was led by an officer in the report who, according to the report, was inexperienced and ill-suited for leadership, and yet was left responsible for ensuring the health of candidates at all BUD/S evolutions. Instead, 2 overtasked first-class petty officers were overseeing medical care for all of the candidates. You better put a special doctor over there at BUD/S, somebody that's been around the community, someone that understands the community, because 99% of the doctors that you send over there are going to be intimidated on a massive level. They're going to be terrified. They're going to see injuries that they don't think human beings are supposed to be able to function in, and they're going to see dudes continue to go with a broken leg, a broken ankle. You're going to see people go with infections and SIPE and everything else, and they're going to be fine. Okay? That place is the incubator for personal trauma and the ability to win while you're dead. Just the facts, Jack. The lack of leadership and oversight in the medical department meant that no one at BTC or the Overseeing Naval Special Warfare Center Clinic had a full view of what treatment problems or concerns any one candidate was facing, putting candidates at significant risk. Okay. I don't know what they were doing medical. I've covered this 1,000 times in the last article review I did. Like, that whole thing was just absolutely foobarred beyond recognition. Like, it was just messed up. Okay. At the same time, recruits like Mullen were being overseen by wholly unqualified personnel. Both this report, as well as the Navy's investigation into Mullen's death, noted that after the sailor finished Hell Week, he was given a cursory medical check and handed a flyer that explicitly said, "Do not go see others outside medical providers." Whoever handed that flyer out should get court-martialed. The medical staff should get court-martialed, okay? Do not go see outside medical providers. Before explaining in all cap letters, if you go see other medical personnel who do not understand Hell Week, they may admit you to the hospital or give you medicines that are not compatible with training. Whoever wrote that and handed it to him should have been court-martialed or should be court-martialed, period. The letter should have said, call this number if you have any problems. Here is a list of symptoms and problems that you should call the doctor for. Shortness of breath, troubles breathing, any discoloration of skin or skin that is hot to the touch. I'm not even a medical provider and I can make the damn checklist. Incoherent speech or lucidity, the inability to combobulate one's thoughts. Call this number immediately. And you know what? That number should be right downstairs. And some dudes should be in that room in about 2 minutes doing a medical evaluation with the ambulance sitting right there in the parking lot. Okay? That's just how it should be. I know when I was in BUD/S, when I got done with Hell Week, every hour we had a medical check. Okay? They got you up, did a medical check, got back in bed. Okay? So the fact that they just let these dudes go back and gave them this letter, man, I'm just saying they should court-martial some people. This is an absolute dereliction of duty, and whoever handed this out should be court-martialed. Period. Okay? As his conditions worsened, only the people around him were the other recruits, and the Navy investigator noted weren't changing CPR. Okay? Concerned by Mullen's gasping for air, as though he was being drowned, sailors around him called the duty medical provider, who left them with the impression they should not go to the hospital. That dude should be court-martialed also. Court-martial him. Okay? And all the dudes in his room should just put him in the car, took him to the hospital. Sometimes you got to make grown man decisions. Okay? According to the report, the very fact that the sailors like Mullins would hesitate to seek out medical help and downplay or hide issues in the effort to not be seen as weak was challenged to the Naval Special Warfare Command Medical Department, as they were unprepared to meet. I was in training with a dude who was a savage, who for 8 weeks limped around. I asked him if he needed to go to medical. He said no. His ankle was broke as fuck. Okay? For 8 weeks, he made it through BUD/S on a broke ankle and did fine. Ended up a dev group. That's just the training. Okay? You can't raise your hand and go to medical because that's just not something you do there because you don't want to get rolled. That zeal to pass also meant that some recruits started turning to performance-enhancing drugs. Here we go. Performance-enhancing drugs. The investigation revealed that the Navy has actually grappled with doping in the SEAL training pipeline at least twice in the last decade. After both incidences, one in 11 and one in 18, the Naval Special Warfare Command asked for permission to be able to test recruits for performance-enhancing substance more freely, but was denied due to cash. Okay? They ain't gonna pay for it. You know you got a problem. All right? After Mullen's death, the investigators found a stash of performance-enhancing drugs in his car, including testosterone and human growth hormone. His blood and urine were unable to be tested for the drugs, the report noted. That's interesting. I wonder why they couldn't test his blood. My insider said that, that's what he was doing. That's what helped. Testosterone is a massive fluid retention drug and probably helped his lungs retain all that fluid, causing the problem. Okay, so I'm not blaming him because he should have had proper medical care, period. But he also didn't help the problem with testosterone and human growth hormone. And for anybody that wants to talk to me about how righteous Mr. Mullins is, just remember he got kicked out of Yale for a sexual assault. Okay, so I'm not going in to get Mullen today because I don't need to start a firestorm about this article review. But please don't tell me how righteous my young man was. Just go read the article about why he left Yale. Okay. And he didn't graduate from Yale. I want to put that out there also. So I know a lot of people are saying he's a Yale football captain, graduate, got kicked out for sexual assault. Just the facts, Jack. 2 candidates in Mullen's class ended up testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and 20 other candidates are in limbo while the Navy gathers more evidence according to the investigation. Now they don't know what to do because they're trying to use some crazy-ass testosterone test, it's a P-test, trying to track down performance-enhancing drugs. Their whole system's out of whack. They're trying to figure it out. They'll get it figured out. But right now, they witch hunting at BUD/S. All right? For the time being, leaders in Naval Special Warfare Command are relying on tests that can suggest but not definitively prove use of performance-enhancing substances. But the report notes that without rigorous testing programs producing timely results, the Navy will be unable to effectively deter use. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, if you're using performance-enhancing drugs at BUD/S, you're running the risk of getting sick, having a problem. In the wake of Mullen's death, the Navy has offered some accountability for the failures and oversight have been exposed. In October, Navy issued administrative non-punitive letters to Geary and to an unnamed senior medical officer. Geary's boss, Captain Brian Dressler, my dude Beef, the Commodore Naval Special Warfare Center, also received a letter. While the letters themselves carry no punishment, they are typically rendered an officer's unpromotable. You ain't get promoted once you get a non-punitive letter, okay? Dress was going to leave early. He left in May. Command said at the time the change was made in part to better focus on addressing some of the lingering issues identified by the very report. Geary would be replaced by Captain Sulik in June 2022. According to the report, the Navy does not appear to have publicly announced its turnover, said whether it occurred ahead of schedule. Okay, whatever. and they made a change. According to the report, Solik emphasizes with instructors that their role is to raise candidates up to standard, not drive them to quit. Okay, the whole place is about not quitting. So good luck on that one, Captain Solik. We'll see how that works out. All right, folks, nothing really special in this article, man. I read the report. I'm just going to tell you, the report says what it says. Whole bunch of failures, mainly in the medical staff. In the military, shit rolls downhill from the commanding officer all the way down to the person that actually fucked up. So in this case, I'm just telling you, they got some heads. It is what it is. I think everything was very preventable. I know the culture, during this time about 2 years ago at Buds, everybody felt like they had to do performance enhancing drugs to be successful. I think it comes back to a bunch of people were showing up completely unprepared for the beast, and they got their heads cut off. So nothing special, man. As always, man, we did a little article review. I hope you liked it. Give you a different little insight into what's really going on here, kind of some of the background. At the end of the day, man, it's just kindergarten. And if you can't get through kindergarten, then you ain't got no purpose in being out there in the real world where people really die.